Do you ever wonder why Coach bags are suddenly everywhere again? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about Gen Z's complete obsession, the history and resurgence of Coach, and go over their top 10 selling bags.
I feel like the brand grew up with us.
So the first thing we're going to go over is the fall of Coach. How did it originally decline? Because it started with such an incredible history, and if you want to learn more about that, we do have a video where we go completely in depth on the history, so I suggest you click on the link. The decline happened about late 2010s, sort of, when people were starting to get monogram fatigue. They had a lot of heavy discounting. They had outlets that were saturating the market, and that really led to a big downfall in how people valued that brand. If this pen, costs $1, everybody can get it. And in kind of that sense, almost nobody wants it. Whereas if this same pen costs $100 or $500, and so it's more limited in who can obtain it, right? So the brand becomes a bit more sought after, highly regarded, which is pretty much the essence of any designer brand, right? A lot of people want it because it also comes with that air of, I can afford this, look what I have, sort of thing. So because Coach was just kind of heavily discounting, they had all their outlet stores, and people were really past that monogram look that they really had going in the early 2010s. Saw a decline from there. So basically it just fell out of style, out of trend at the moment. Now, skip ahead several years, recently, these past couple years, when Stuart Ververes, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, but when he took over Coach, he really refreshed the brand, reduced the heavy discounting, and worked on visibility in social media. Now, this visibility in social media is really where the brand took off, especially among Gen Z. So we're gonna get some TikTok videos and react to those shortly here. So let's start that video now.
Coach is the only heritage fashion brand that's targeting Gen Z and doing it properly. Let me tell you why. So obviously the In My Tabby campaign is widely successful with Gen Z stars like K-pop stars and Lil Nas X. They're also introducing the Tabby to the metaverse, which admittedly other luxury brands have done as well. But also the Tabby is cute, high quality, and it's below the $500 price point. Some are even below the $400 price point, which isn't.
And Tabby is going to be one of the brands actually in the top 10 list, to give you a hint.
When it comes to luxury bags. And even more recently, they've introduced their new bag line called Coachtopia. All the bags
and that's what we're going to talk about as well. Coachtopia was another big thing that they did. And actually a lot of brands are doing something similar to Coachtopia, which essentially is upcycling, but they upcycle specifically their past brand releases.
This line are designed to completely be able to come apart and be repurposed and recycled, which is amazing. They've also created a board of Gen Z sustainability influencers who kind of weigh in on their sustainability choices and point them in the right direction. Coach is doing such a great job at staying relevant, staying interesting, and targeting Gen Z, and other heritage brands really need to take a hint. Follow for more facts.
So that was a great video. That's why Coach is doing so well, because they're targeting social media places where the younger people are, and they're putting it at these lower price points that are more obtainable within the luxury world. So it's kind of ironic that one of the things that made Coach not sought after anymore was the heavy discounting and the outlet stores. But also now, one of the things that's making them become sought after again is that same great price comparatively, comparing to other brand or designer houses. I think that plays heavily into the economy right now, because people still want to be able to treat themselves. But if you could buy a $400 purse versus a $1,500 purse, I think most people would go with the $400 purse, especially if you're still getting a quality that a designer house is supposed to offer. If you've watched one of our previous videos, you know that the Y2K, the early 2000s fashion, is really back into style. So things like the Abercrombie and Fitch baby doll tops are back to Coach purses. And that really shows, because a lot of the hottest purse models are really the Y2K models. And of course, like any smart brand nowadays, Coach is taking hold and using influencers to influence their followers and other people to buy their items. So one thing I really noticed is that Coach really heavily invested into TikTok, and I specifically say TikTok because TikTok, they target that Gen Z audience the most. Like if you think of any other social platforms, they're all considered for, the elderly in the social media realm, whereas TikTok is the latest and greatest viral platform. We'll watch a few more videos. TikTok. TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Say that 20 times fast. Again, you can see all the different types of tabbies. This is like their hot bag right now. Oh, that was it. This, I believe, is actually their most popular video. This had 6.5 million views. It was pinned to the top of their profile. Other videos don't have that many views, but that's probably because they show all their different types of tabby bags that they have available, which, as you can tell, is a lot. Tons of different styles and slightly different models. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yes, say Coach is in, Coach is cool. I literally used to get bullied in high school for wearing Coach, so I feel a personal connection to this rebrand. Seeing Coach go from this to this is just a...
Which is funny that she's kind of dissing the patchwork bag, because that's actually one of their more popular bags. I mean, don't get me wrong, the tabby is popular, but I feel like it's becoming like the basic TikTok bag. But people who really love the Y2K aesthetic, they are going for the patchwork bags because heavy monogramming was part of that era.
Beautiful moment in the history of fashion. I feel like the brand grew up with us. Is this not like flip phone, roller rinks, Tamagotchi in a picture? Evolving to the jelly tabby bag. Don't even get me started on the clear one.
Jelly was really popular in the early 2000s, late 90s. Not just jelly bags, but like jelly shoes and stuff.
Just their overall rebranding, like they are with the times. Simple, elegant contrast, luxury aesthetic, the tag, the logo, everything is balanced out perfectly. Price point is most astonishing. Okay, Gen Z, you can now afford luxury bags.
Sorry, these cherry keychains are also super, super hot if you are a collector of keychains and you like Coach. I'm sure you either have one or you've seen them many, many times in videos. Specifically this colorway, I believe it comes in 4 colorways, but this one where it's that classic cherry color is the most popular.
Obsessed with the cherries. So chic, but still has a dash of personality. Excited to see what celebrities will hop on this Coach trend. What a time to be alive. Coach is making a comeback. I'm gonna keep updated on this.
It's kind of funny that I was talking about how the cherries add a unique charm or a unique touch, but if everybody's doing it now because it is the trendy charm to use, it's not really that unique. Like, I admit it's cute and I like it myself personally, but on the other hand, I would be like, well, if I'm trying to be unique, I don't know if I'd buy that just because of how popular it is, or if I'd actually just go and buy one of their many, many other charms that they offer, or even in a different colorway of the cherries. All right, let's look at one more video here. See, again, the cherries, like it's like on every bag she's almost displaying because it's the trendy keychain, but definitely not unique because it's on every bag now. I will say that there are a lot of videos from Coach employees, if not Coach themselves, where they're just posting the latest bags. But adding on to it, that's part of why, that's the big reason why Coach is back and they're popular, is because they're having themselves as a brand, or their employees, they're just posting videos of Coach bags dressed up or just showing the latest and greatest Coach bags. I think how most of it all started with the influencers is the classic celebrity route. So Coach always used celebrity partnerships like other big fashion houses did. I think one of the first ones I heard about a few years ago was Jennifer Lopez was a pretty big deal when she did Coach, Selena Gomez, and even Michael B. Jordan. And then they started integrating more and more influencers, really heading like into that influencer realm. They were kind of really smart in that sense. because they specifically targeted Gen Z because they're just kind of entering the workforce. They don't typically have a lot of money, or they are very conscious in the way that they spend their money, because most people are, but they still want to be aesthetically pleasing and they still want to be trendy. And of course, everybody wants a good quality. So that is where Coach kind of fit themselves in. Make sure you give this video a like if you are loving the Coach revival right now. I have some few purses and pouches and even sandals that I've had them since before the comeback, so it's kind of funny to see that now I feel like I'm part of the trend because, oh, I have these, but I've always had them, which is hilarious. If you want to see the bags that I do have, again, you can go and watch that past Coach video that we did. I pretty much showed you majority of the Coach branded items that we have. We've left out quite a bit though, because I thought it was really repetitive at some point. I was just trying to give you like a good, nice, wide variety. Talking about what Coach is doing to really give themselves a revamp and revive their brand, especially among Gen Z, really on trend with the Y2K resurgence, having great prices. They are also having bag charms, bag decorations. Back on one of the videos that we watched earlier, how they were talking about, oh, it makes your bag seem unique and special and blah, blah, blah. Well, we're going to look at the Coach website and then you're going to see some of the bag accessories and charms that they sell. Okay, here we are on the Coach website, and then you can see there's the classic cherry bag charm that everybody is pretty much has in their videos, and that's what I was talking about with the different colorways. But you can also see all the other types of charms and keychains and straps and things like that that Coach offers. That's all Coach brand. So this is part of why they are also so popular, is because people like to be unique. People like to be aesthetically pleasing. They like to be on trend with different holidays or seasons or just their interests. And they like to really display them. So Coach really caught on to that in their own unique way and started selling these charms. Now, I know there's always been Coach charms. I have some from the past, but they really leaned heavy into these charms to really make them young and fun and stylish. So yeah, people are really liking them. It's funny, this Rexy one, because these Rexy pouches go for some good money. I do have one for sale myself if you are interested. And there we are. So you can see why people love these Coach charms and these Coach bags, and part of the reason why Coach came back into style is because they're really leaning into this more youthful young aesthetic here. If you've seen a charm that you really love in that video, subscribe because I work so hard. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the top 10 selling Coach bags currently. So they're going to be a mix of new models and vintage models, plus their going rates. So I'm going to include retail rates and resell rates. Those are different, and I'll talk about them a little more as we go. Let's go ahead and get started with the first bag, which is of course the tabby. Where would we be without putting the tabby? We've talked about it so much throughout this video. So right now specifically, we're just talking about kind of the classic tabby, and as you can see, the tabby ranges from about $350 to $550, depending on style and of course the materials that they are made out of. And I just took the average, and then right here on eBay from their sewed comps area, you can kind of see that the average sewed bag for Coach is about $200 for the tabby line. Now it's going to be a little higher and a little lower in some areas, so we just kind of give you that nice average there. Now we're going to go on to the Coach Rogue, and these bags are not in any particular order. Currently, the Rogue is not a model bag that is sold retail, so I'm not able to show you guys that on the Coach website. So there is no retail price for the Rogue. There are some tote style bags or similar tote looking bags available on the Coach website, but we're gonna just focus on the Rogue because it is a pretty popular bag in the resale market, and those go for about $250 on average. Now, as you can see, there's some above that and there's some below that. It all depends on the exact model, if there's collaborations, what fabric they're using, what year it came out. We're going to talk about the next popular bag, which is a tabby subgenre, which is the pillow tabby. It's more of a quilted design. I'll put it up. You guys will be able to definitely take a look at it. It's a softer, plushier type of version. It goes for about $550, so it is the higher end of the tabbies, and the resale is about $180. Moral of the story here is, unless you need something to be brand new with tags, you can definitely find a lot of good purses. I mean, it's already priced well, but you can find them at even better prices. And then the bag that I think is really popular among the re-release crowd, so the new lovers of Coach and the old school lovers, the vintage lovers of Coach, and that is, you've probably guessed it, the Coach Ergo. It's a very popular minimalistic type of shape. You're going to see it on the screen. I'm going to talk about the re-release and the vintage separately. So the re-release, they have tons of different styles again, and they sell from kind of $147.50 to $295 on the high end, and the resale value is about $150 on average. It seems like you would think that the more fancy decorative bags sell for more, but it's really the more classic, basic styles that go for the most on the resale market, which is why the vintage Ergo is still really popular. I would love to get my hands on a new Ergo and a vintage one to do kind of like a live in video review of those. If you have one, I would love to interview you and kind of get your thoughts on that. The vintage Ergo, they do sell retail because, again, Coach has the Coachtopia line, which is still, we're going to consider that retail because it's directly from the brand. And on that website, it goes for $595. So Coachtopia is always going to be the most expensive versus if you're just buying the bag off of eBay. So the resale value goes for about $300. So you could see the big difference there just in the resale value alone. So if you have an Ergo and you want to look to make some extra money, hopefully it is a vintage style or more of a basic model, and you'll get your most money back in the resale market. Now the Coach Willis, or the Willis top handle bag, it's kind of like a square bag with a handle. Those retail for about $350 and they resell for about $100. So if you're not, again, super worried about getting it straight from Coach, then eBay is probably going to be eBay or Poshmark or Depop. You know, the only caveat with shopping on those websites is you're going to want to find a seller that you can trust. That is why having lots of good reviews like how we have on our eBay store and our Poshmark store and Depop is really important, because it shows people that they can trust us. So if you're looking for a Coach bag, let me know. And then next is the Coach Dinky. Now it's called the Dinky because it's a small purse, but they are highly collectible. So they have a vintage and they have a re-release. So the re-release retails for about $150 and it resells for about $50. The vintage retails for $295 and resells for $80. Now Disney also did a lot of collaborations with Coach using the Dinky model, and those always go for a lot more. So in the resale market, about $350. So if you have a Coach Dinky collaboration and you want to make some extra cash, they're going pretty fast in the resale market. Then we have the Coach Swinger, and this is kind of like updated to the baguette style. And of course, you're going to see pictures on the screen. It retails for about $200 and resells for $140. So this has a great resale value compared to the brand new value. So this is going to be a good brand if you're looking, a good model, if you're looking for a bag that will have a good resale value. Now, if you're really liking this list and you like these type of videos, make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I would like to know what type of videos my audience likes to watch. That way we can keep putting them out. Now the next bag is the Coach Dempsey. We only have a few more bags, so stick with me. And it's kind of like a tote carry-all bag, and it's really practical for everyday use, especially for busy moms, or if you work, you can put all your office stuff in there. This one didn't have a retail, it wasn't currently sold on Coach website or Coachtopia, so it's kind of strictly more of a resale bag. It's about $80 unless it's a collaboration. Again, collaborations or limited releases are always going to go for more money. Next is the Coach Station bag. This is another vintage bag. It's very timeless. It's a structured vintage piece. So it's not currently available on the retail side, but it resells for about $100, which is a great price if you're looking to get into Coach. And last but not least, the Coach Soho. Now this is like a vintage 90s, early 2000s look. So it's that iconic Y2K era bag that a lot of the Y2K girlies are going for. A re-release of this bag kind of goes for $250. On the resale side, it goes for $40. Now, the vintage ones are not available currently on the Coach website. Now I say currently because Coachtopia, you know, they post bags as they're ready to be posted. So maybe it wasn't available when I was doing my research, which I think I checked the latest was last night. And now I'm filming it just to make sure I had the latest information to share. But who knows, by the time this goes live, there could be some bags that I was saying was not available for retail listed on the Coachtopia website. But anyways, the resale value of these vintage Sohos go for $130 and up. And $130 was a really generous price I seen of them. So tell me, what is your most favorite Coach bag that we went over, or even that you love wearing that didn't make the list? I gave you 10 of them. So you can definitely find a lot of bags that would be good collector's items, good if you're on the hunt at yard sales and thrift stores and you want to resell, or if you just want to be wearing what's currently trendy. Don't be afraid to wear really heavy Y2K styles like that patchwork or that monogram look, because truly that is what is in right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you share your comments below on that. Well, as you can see, Coach has made a comeback, and it's quite fascinating because they really found their little niche, and they really targeted down to figure out how they could stand out. They really tapped into smart branding strategy, the nostalgic fashion cycle that we're having now that I talked about, and the power of social media and influencers, because, you know, people like to buy what their favorite celebrity or influencer is wearing. Like it or not, that's just how it is. That's why brands sponsor influencers. So if you're looking for an everyday bag, your next profitable flip, Coach is definitely a brand to watch. And if you like these type of videos, give me a follow, and I love to hear what your favorite Coach bag is. I hope you go ahead and watch our other Coach video next that really talks about the history of Coach and why their vintage bags are more sought after. If you were wondering, well, why does the vintage bags have a higher resale rate than the newer bags? That kind of seems counterintuitive, right? But it's not, and you'll find out if you watch our other Coach video, which I'm sure is on the screen now. All right, subscribe.